am Dr. Guerrero for the other class, and I actually teach Introduction to Data Science, which is something that I invite you all to who has not taken that class as an opportunity. It's an interdisciplinary course, so that means, or at least that's how I've designed it. So that's why I'm here today, because I want to show my students what is the connection between data science and the visual arts. And they're actually studying at this point right now data visualization, so it's a perfect connection. I also want to say that if you have time, my students have created some questions, because part of their assignment is to do a little scholarly research. And so they came up with quite a few interesting questions that I hope that we have a chance to, address it with you.
Okay,
Thank you.
good. I did bring my VR headset. I am going to be showing you an app for data visualization in VR as well. So we have a lot to cover today. Just a little background. I'm an immersive artist. I've been an art director for 20 years, running my own digital marketing agency in the entertainment, from baseball to music artists to TV shows like Breaking Bad and Walking Dead. I've been teaching at St. Peter's for 7 years now, and I love teaching and giving back. So why are artists essential in data science? And what artists can do is make complex information accessible, compelling, and memorable. And those are important factors, because when you're just looking at numbers for the average person, you can kind of graze over it and it's hard to remember it. But if you can create a story and make it creative and have an emotional engagement with the information, it truly resonates and becomes a memorable experience for people, as well as turning it into a narrative, like storytelling. So again, bringing that data together, making it accessible, making it compelling, and making it memorable. Those are the main keys of why artists are brought into working with data science and that type of information. I thought this was a fun slide to bring up. Carol Benzie, he's a data science artist, and just kind of to lighten up the topic a little, who likes Star Wars here? Is that right? Come on. Have you guys watched Star Wars growing up? Yeah, okay. So this is a really very experiential, data-driven piece of art that takes the heroes, the dark side, and the light side, creating this beautiful piece of art. And it's all data. That's so exciting. And when you look at it, you can see, with the different colors, if you pay attention to, you can see the most influential characters: Anakin Skywalker, the Emperor, and using the light shades for the Force, and the red is represented as the Siths and the Empire, and it feels like a battling piece of art in a way. So again, connecting art with science, artists bridge the gap between analytics and gives insightful information in a visual storytelling way, making data easier to interpret in a wider audience. This is a more traditional data science interpretation of 3D mapping of population density. This is created by Alistair Ray. And this is a more common type of artist visualization of data. And this is the population density in Europe. So I'm just going to show some examples. Here's another very popular type of data chart. And these are charts that you guys are probably used to seeing. So this is a bubble chart. And this is kind of highlighting the 300 different types of programming languages that are out there. I've just named a few: C, C++, JavaScript, Ruby, SQL, and Python. How many here know Python?
I know Python.
You know Python? Okay, good, right? Have you guys done robotics with Python? Yeah, very nice. That's some fun stuff. Has anyone used Scratch? Yeah, Scratch? It's a fun program, right? My friend wrote Rails for Ruby. Data is a very exciting computer science is a very exciting field. There's so many great things that you guys can visualize, but when you work with an artist on that task of visualizing your data, it really can turn into something very exciting. This is a streamograph of immigration to the US. And when you look at this data, right, it has all the different countries, and the way this particular data chart is made is very visual, and an artist created this as well. This is a visually compelling chart, but it was made traditionally, right? So right now I'm showing you traditional data charts. Here's a heat map. This kind of highlights the earthquake in 2010, when you see where the main impact happened on a map of the country itself. And heat maps are becoming more and more common as well in data science. A lot of people are moving towards using AI now, but AI has been around for a long time. When you think about using algorithms with data science and creating the charting for the different visualizations. Here are some programs, Tableau with AI extensions, a lot of the apps that are coming out, Microsoft, right, Canva, if you know Canva. I've listed some artist sites that are AI generating platforms, Redway, DALL-E, and Midjourney. These two sites are more artist heavy, but Tableau is more of a data visualization application. This is just a quick data chart I made with Midjourney about just highlighting wrestlers. But as you can see, when things are created with artificial intelligence, AI makes mistakes with the visuals. So artists have to go in and fix them, right? So his body parts are all over the place. The type isn't really set for real. His face is funny. You can see AI doesn't quite understand how to create certain things. Here's another, a lot of times I'll do rapid sketching with AI when I'm working on data charts with my clients, just to get the idea across, because the workflow happens so quickly now. When artists are working with their clients or at agencies, the expectation has become much higher of the rate of return, right, for the work that you're producing. There's another one. This was about the different seasons and the environment, and these are rough sketches that I asked AI to help me with. These are two of the charts that I ended up working with, and this was for a company that uses technology for underground mining. So that was one of my clients, and we had to create some data charts and show the flow of how natural resources could be excavated underground. And then the machinery that was used, they used different sensors from video cameras that work with the people on ground, and a lot of audio signaling to different towers. So it was a very complex system. I ended up creating this in 3D and had to create this for a convention. It was an international convention for this type of industry. So this is the artist Kerry Benzi. He is a data visualization artist, and he's internationally known. He's worked with Nike and several other, from fashion to accessories, jewelry to just TED Talks. He's all over the place. This is one of his, the face of data art, and this is a narrative that he just created just of the blend of art and science. And what's interesting is you were seeing this on the Adobe product you were using the other day with something you were creating, right? And doesn't that look familiar? So he was the first person to create this kind of a portrait, but it was all created with code. Here's another one of his pieces. This is the circadian rhythms, And this is the daily cycle of light and dark that the body uses to keep track of time. And he worked with a watch company for this particular data visualization, and it's called the biological clock. Oops, let me see if I can get this to play. There we go. So can you see the wake and sleep cycle in this visualization? And it's beautiful. So data can be beautiful when working with an artist to create whatever it is they're trying to convey. And I think it's really interesting that this was for a watch company. They used it for a big launch of their new watch design. It was like one of those parties that they have. So here's another circadian rhythms, another visualization that he came up with, the micro makeup with the signatures of infectious disease. So if you work in the pharmaceutical industry, you do a lot of data visualization. And infectious disease is a huge topic, and I can't tell you how many data visualization charts I worked on for Novo Nordisk, Novartis, Ciba-Geigy, and then my company was agency of record for Bayer Consumer Healthcare, so I did a lot of stuff for Bayer as well. So that's another niche. But this is showing that the color palette is divided into 4 unique shades: the lighter tones for children, the darker ones for adults, and patients who are immune uncompromised are differentiated by the nodes outside the square shape. Here's another one that he did as well. And he worked with Caris, which is an innovative life sciences company. So a lot of times these artists or companies work with another agency besides the client, which the client would be Novartis or whatever big business company that's hiring for this data science information. So VR and data visualization is also a hot topic. This is an augmented reality clip.
Hi, I'm Jason Clark. I'm glad to be able to show you what you code. This is an example of seeing data.
And he's using a Quest 3 headset.
Now I happen to be recording this on a Quest 3 and as a Samsung phone for doing the augmented reality capture of myself. First thing is we can see just the distribution by product subcategory. You see that this company is involved in furniture, office supplies, and technology, especially like machines and copiers. You can see that some of the biggest transactions are around machines and copiers. All right, it's just a quick way to get a sense of what the business is involved in. Here we can see the data laid out in a variety of ways. Now, the daily feed of daily transactions, you can see a couple of really big transactions over time. They're categorized by technology, office supplies, and furniture. You can see what it looks like if it was monthly. And we had our flow interpreter decide whether to go ahead and map this out to aggregate by quarters and aggregate by years. This is a really good way to see the difference between these things. You can, obviously, the technology peaked in 2019 and dropped a little bit in 2020, but you would have a good sense of that just by looking at the more detailed views. But then it's also, you can see what really happened in 2020 is the last quarter was really good. but there's 3 low quarters there. So just looking at that top line number wouldn't really tell you that what you really should have been looking at is what happened in the prior 3 quarters.
So what's interesting, again, when he was, the fact that you could look at this in a 3-dimensional view really helps people understand what they're looking at and what they're reading. Sometimes the flat 2D data charts, they just get really heavy to read. I was working with one of the hedge fund companies in Connecticut for a year, and I had to work on a ton of these charts, and it just becomes mind-numbing after a while. But when you could take it to the 3rd dimension and create an immersive experience, it really helps people understand the information that they're looking at.
May I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
With your clients that you've done, or that you've heard stories that they use VR, what is the accessibility like? So do you have to bring in the VR equipment in order for them to use it, or is it getting easier and easier to have access to all these devices?
It's definitely getting easier. We have the VR club that meets on Fridays, and we're using Zapbox right now. So a lot of these other companies there are companies that are moving more towards the mixed reality, that's augmented reality with virtual reality, and trying to move it more towards phone-based applications that connect with a carrier, but they also have the joysticks as well. So that's one point of entry. But I was just a speaker this last June at Augmented World Expo in LA, and the trade show where all the vendors were, there were hundreds of people promoting the new glasses in augmented reality that are coming out. And that's like the Ray-Ban, the new Ray-Ban glasses that are out with Meta. Augmented reality is the first step, I think, more so than immersive virtual reality. A lot of people have problems with virtual reality because of motion sickness. So augmented reality lets you see your surrounding with the pass through, so you don't get
Kind
to
of like
start.
what's happening there.
Yeah, exactly. So the headset that I brought today is the Quest 2, which is fully immersive, but I can set it for pass through. But most of the applications black everything out. So getting back to your question, I think it's less for VR and more for AR. Here's another.
Hi, I'm Jason Marsh. I'm glad to be able to show
This is just another.
This is an example of seeing data from
I think
a
this is
single
the same one.
Same one?
Here's another one.
I'm Jason Marsh, and I'd like to tell you about why Flow Immersive is so meaningful.
I just downloaded this app to my headset. So
Before I show you a number of examples,
after we finish watching
here in the
this,
home space, I can glance
we're going to
into
go
your
in and I can
process
show a
with
live
specific
demo,
data.
and then everyone's going to get a chance to try.
It's just a really neat way to reduce the friction of getting your team into an AR data room. Big picture, Flow Immersive is about communicating data really effectively. It goes far beyond just that it's 3D database. Flow is used in use cases such as stakeholder alignment around complex data, such as managing environmental or financial risks, consulting analyst presentations, or supply chain vulnerabilities. The core business problem is that oversimplified bar charts don't provide enough credibility for business leaders to make good data-driven decisions. Using 3D, especially stereo vision, enables you to see so much more detail in a single view, so you don't need to oversimplify your data, and you don't need to show page after page of PowerPoint slides. PowerPoint actually violates the brain's way of organizing information. Executive briefings have these pages that appear and disappear, but a brain can't remember disappearing non-things, especially ones with no spatial relationships. With Flow, you activate the brain's hippocampus, which gives you that spatial awareness, which makes the data more concrete and more memorable.
And I couldn't have said that any better, right? Memorable. That's the important part of this type of data visualization. People need to be able to remember the information. And lastly, here's one last piece of data visualization created by an artist using AI AR, that's a typo, and LMR, which added visualization. And this is a reconstruction of code and analysis using the coupled atmosphere ocean reconstruction of the last millennium showing global warming.
I'd like to explain to you how Flow Immersive is using AI to help our AR data visualization product. So I think that data visualization in AR and MR with an LLM assistant is just fundamentally changes how non-expert users interact with data, providing a massive new level of mastery and control. And the first thing we can see here is that we're looking at global sea surface temperatures. There's 365 days across the front, and 40 years across the side, and the height is the global sea surface temperatures. First thing you can just get a sense of is, hey, it's getting hotter. So, but let's play with this a little bit. Filter to show me 2023 and 2024. So I'm going to use the AI to recognize my voice and filter the content to see what we see. So here we're just looking at the last 2 years and these spikes particularly. So last year was the warmest year on record. Look at the difference in the first part of 2024 versus last year. So that's an interesting place to start. Remove the filter. So I'm using the Whisper API from OpenAI to recognize my voice and OpenAI under the covers, but we built it such that you can swap any of the different language models. Here we're going to switch and start looking at land temperatures. So this is the average. The grid is the average, and this goes back to 1850, and we can see the each month is its own line. So we can filter these, like take a look at September by itself. Look at that spike, right? We're looking at September's going back in time. Look at that spike in September and throw in October. Let's use the AI to revisualize this. Put this on a 3D radar plot. So again, it'll recognize my voice and spin this around entirely and put it in a totally different visualization. In this case, we're looking back in time, and the distance from the center is the temperature anomaly, and you can see these gaps here, and it's really dramatic numbers. Let's show some more examples of how AI can help us understand what we're looking at. What is the Oceanic Nino Index? The Oceanic Nino Index is a measure used to track the El Nino Southern Oscillation climate pattern in the tropical Pacific Ocean. So it gives me, just using ChatGPT's corpus of knowledge. Let's be more specific. I'm going to select a dot here from 2016, where we were in a very strong El Nino pattern. Tell me how this affected Mongolia. So you will use that dot as part of the context, and now we can see that it had a significant impact on Mongolia. The warmer and drier conditions contribute to an increase in desertification and land degradation in Mongolia.
So you're probably wondering, how does this still connect back to the visual artist? So I have worked on applications like this in VR. We've come up with the concepts of how the visual representation will be portrayed in VR, how user interface design, user experience design, those are two other classes that I teach here at St. Peter's. What are the colors to use, the fonts, all of those things get programmed in by visual artists. So it doesn't, even though we're using AI to prompt the results with voice command, that was also thought of by a visual artist. So you have creative artists that work in music, you have creative artists that are user experience design, user interface design, and then you also have a creative lead and the creative project manager. So there's usually around a team of at least 4 to 8 people that would work on a project like this for this software manufacturer to come up with the visualization for the virtual reality headset. So even though it looks like it's happening on the fly and that data is just happening, no. Several artists worked on this whole software called Flow Immersive to create this to happen. I've worked on hand gestures, you know, what happens when you clap, do we want stars, do we want hearts, you know, all the minute little details that you guys see on your phone. Every single little aspect has been planned out by a visual artist. So none of this just happens by osmosis. There is a very high demand for artists who understand data visualization and understand how to talk effectively through user experience design for their knowledge of how to see things from other people's perspective. Artists have empathy when they work on projects for data visualization, for a project that talks about the environment. Artists get very passionate about this, and you get like a whole nother side that you never would have thought of before once you pull in all these team players. You know, we call the workflow process sprints. Those are sprints we would all meet and talk about the project and where we're at in it. We have production meetings. Usually we would have like 2 check-ins a week besides the sprint meeting. You know, so there's a lot behind the scenes that are happening in something as simple as this chart that we're looking at right now.
So, one of the things that you just finished reminding me that I teach in my data visualization class is about color. And we speak about accessibility and how sometimes we might have an audience that are colorblind.
Yes.
What are your thoughts about that and your experiences?
Well, that's ADA compliant, American Disabilities Act, which we teach in our classes, in the graphic arts classes and the user experience classes. Those are important factors to understand. So the colors that are used when you have reds to blues, reds turn black, blue turns white. So long as you have that difference in color, it can translate. And then also for the hearing impaired, of course somebody who's hearing impaired would not be using the VR headset, but if they're on a website or their phone, you have to have the metadata, which describes everything. So that is something people are using more AI with for metadata, because in the past that was like a huge lift, because you would have to write so much information into the code behind whatever platform you're building on. So from websites to mobile app design, now we're in Web3 technology. So Web3 technology also contains CSS, cascading style sheets, which are the backbone to most Web3 sites, along with JavaScript. And JavaScript also takes in the metadata too. So the CSS really drives most of it though.
Next week, my class is going to look into machine coding, and some of the questions that they came up with for today's session does talk about ML. No, Alcab, I think you have mentioned it. Do you remember
I'd
your
like to
question?
explain to you how.
If I have it on my phone, I don't have the question, so if anybody remembers your question, it would be a good time to kind of like look at your phone right now, and you can look at what you submitted as, so my class, take out your phones and look at the questions. I will usually do a leadway to help them out with addressing their questions, but many had spoke about ML. I think Larissa mentioned a great one as she's looking hers up in regards to the cultural effects that art has and how is data collected. Larissa, do you think you can find your question? Oh, your question was good too.
Do you want to start up the flow program to make sure it's working? While we're doing that. We're just gonna set up while she's doing
Absolutely,
that.
yes.
Here. You're gonna put this on with my password. I have the program on, my boundaries are there. So this is right here.
has her question if you want to hear it.
Okay, I'm just setting up Premiere so he can get us started. That's okay. I think we should be charged now. And just do the password. Okay, he's gonna be setting that up while you're.
My question was, how can an abstract piece help gain data scientists' attraction so they can tell particularly for the research data?
So that's similar to the watch client, right? That's fashion. Nike has hired data science to show how their products. Yeah. Nike even has hired data science for their launches for their new sneakers. So I think that with the clients that understand the importance of the data and how when you're working with someone who's creative that can relay that information that does tell a story and